Hi, my name is Father Thomas Haan, and I'm a priest of the Diocese of Lafayette in Indiana. Though it is one of my favorite activities, not many of us walk through a bookstore anymore. But even if we did visit one today, undoubtedly one of the largest sections of the store would be the self help section, which seems to be a good enough thing. And even within that section, there would be at least one aisle dedicated to leadership. Much ink has been spilled on the topic, and it seems that each author comes to his or her own conclusion. Oftentimes, we read that a leader must be inspiring. I don't disagree, and yet we must admit that there's some temperaments and personalities that just aren't oozing with charisma, so the inspiring label probably isn't the essential ingredient. You often hear that a leader should be motivational, but how exactly are you supposed to get others to move at your direction, especially if you're dealing with teenagers? The answer, of course, is that if someone will follow you, it's because they trust you. Trust is established over time with honesty and authenticity. But that process can be expedited if it can be made clear and obvious that you love them. Love, according to the classic definition by St. Thomas Aquinas, is to will the good of the other for their own sake. So, in essence, I will follow a leader if I'm convinced that that leader has my good in mind. But often, despite their best efforts to mask it, leaders often have their own good in mind. I was once around a coach whose team was having a terrible start to the season. In the locker room after a disaster first half, he yelled at his athletes, "Don't you know I need to feed my wife and kids?" That wasn't exactly a motivating moment. It was made painfully obvious that the coach's primary motive was not the student athletes, it was his own job. There are so many coaches and so called leaders that make it all about their record, their reputation, their legacy. Narcissism seems to run rampant in our culture these days, which may give you another reason why our self help section is so large. People are all about themselves. Our Lord Jesus has a different vision for how he wants his disciples to lead. We read in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and the great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you shall be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Just so the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. I can remember being a freshman on my high school football team. Before every practice, some of the seniors were busy finding one of us freshmen to carry their pads to practice. But there were some other seniors who were always either busy setting up supplies and equipment for practice, or explaining a drill or a play to a teammate, or checking on a teammate and the healing of their injury. Not only did I want to be around those guys and follow them, I wanted to be like them. They were willing to serve rather than to be privileged or pampered. If you've got an ego as a leader, you're going to feed it. But if your mind and heart is filled with the good of those around you, others are going to feed off of that. Let's return to the definition of love, willing the good of the other. What's the highest good you could possibly desire for another person? I'll save you the mental work. It's a saving relationship with Jesus Christ in his church. There's no more important place that you can lead someone than heaven, where Christ awaits us in his glory. To be a leader in the classroom or on the court or on the field must include leading others to know and love Jesus, most especially at a Catholic school. Otherwise, you are leading a soul in a different direction. And isn't that what Satan does? Wrong kind of leader. In fact, he hates those he leads. That's why he actively seeks our destruction. And remember, at his creation, his fall was precipitated by telling God, "Non serviam," I will not serve. Hopefully, our daily exclaim will be, "I will serve." So how do you show your students you love them? How do we live and teach leadership? Here are a few suggestions. If you love the people you're leading, you will pray for them. So pray for them every day, by name, from your heart. If you love them, you will pray with them. So pray with them every day, from your heart. It's not a task that can be delegated, and that's just a part of leading by example. Also, seek opportunities to serve them. Look for their needs, and don't look for recognition or appreciation, and that's hard to do. Encourage them to be attentive to the needs of their classmates and teammates. That's teaching them how to serve and ultimately how to lead. To conclude, a couple suggested questions for you to discuss. What's the difference between generic community service and the type of service Christ is calling us to in Matthew chapter 20? Another question. At the bottom of every image of divine mercy, we see printed the words, "Jesus, I trust in you." What did Jesus do to earn our trust, and what does that have to do with our leadership? You are an administrator, a teacher, a coach, or all the above, but you've been put in a position to lead young people and to teach them to lead as well. You want to know how? You got to love the ones you lead. Love them in the pattern of Christ's own love. Love them enough to lead them to Christ. Leadership is a virtue. And remember, virtue equals strength.